Have you ever jumped on the scales after a week of hard work, expecting to see a great result, but ended up frustrated or a little disappointed with what you've achieved? Today we're going to discuss the scales. I'm going to talk to you about education really, and try to educate you a little bit more on what the scales show you, give you a little bit of an idea on what might cause them to fluctuate, and then hopefully give you some information that you can take away and better understand how you can assess your progress. What we need to understand first is what you see when you step on the scales. First and foremost, it's really, really important to remember it's not just good and bad. Up isn't bad and down isn't good. It's a measurement of total body mass, of how much your body weighs in that given moment in time, and that's literally all it is. Lucky for us is it's super quick, it's cheap, it's effective, it's pretty cut and dry in terms of what we see, but we just need to detach the emotion away from it. So anytime you jump in on the scales, you're seeing fat mass, you're seeing muscle mass, you're seeing bone mass, you're seeing food in your digestive tract, you're seeing water retention, you're seeing inflammation. There's so many things, and you literally have no way, zero chance of differentiating what each is. Fluctuations happen constantly, and we can see fluctuations of kilo, half a kilo, to up to 4 kilos in some people in any given moment when they jump on the scales. What causes those fluctuations? I've created a little bit of a list here for you. So in terms of what can cause your weight to fluctuate, probably one of the biggest ones that we can see is what we call muscle glycogen or stored carbohydrate. Now, glycogen is the primary fuel for our body, and most food that we bring in gets converted into this and stored either in our bloodstream or in the muscles. We're talking about muscular glycogen now, or stored carb in the muscle. In the event that you're somebody who, let's say you go on a low carb diet for the first time after going hard on the weekend and binging on your usual amount of carbs, on the other end of the spectrum, let's say you've gone low carb, think, you know what, this shit doesn't work for me, I feel like crap and I want to eat some carbs, and then you throw those carbs in. Or maybe you're somebody who you do a refeed day. You usually eat low carbs and then you jack it up for a refeed and your weight goes up with it. That's glycogen repletion, that's filling back up. And water and glycogen have a really close relationship. I'm going to elaborate that in a little bit in a moment. But first and foremost, glycogen's a massive, massive influencer on weight fluctuations. Second to that is menstrual cycles. Guys, you're not going to have this problem. But girls, you can have fluctuations of 1 to 4 kilos on any given day. And this thing is massive for some people. It's highly individual. Some girls will have huge fluctuations, some will have small. But it's important to realize that bloating, that water retention that you experience at different phases in your cycle are going to show on the scales. You might feel fat, but you're not fatter. Unless you then eat the calories that are going to add fat mass, but that's not what we're talking about. That's a water mass and inflammation fluctuation. So that's another huge one, 2 to 4 kilos, massive. Water balance. All of these kind of come back to water balance. Now, in this situation, let's go back to glycogen really quickly for a second. When I eat carbohydrates and it dumps itself into my muscle tissue, and I've got, let's call it a gram of glycogen, water, 3 grams of water or thereabouts is going to attach itself to that gram. So let's make it easier numbers. Let's say I've got a kilo of stored glycogen in my body. That is then going to have an additional 3 kilos of stored water added to that as well. Same goes if I dump it out on that low carb dieter again, and I take a lot of carbs out. Let's say I go fully keto. I'm going to lose the glycogen. I lose 1 kilo of glycogen. I lose 3 kilos of water. My weight goes down 4. If you think that's good and you've been listening from the start, you're crazy, because that just means you've had a change in your body's water balance and glycogen status, not fat mass. Then you've got stress and inflammation. I'm not going to hang on this too much, but if you're stressed, if you're going through a period of high stress, you will have higher amounts of, again, water balance or water retention. And this can be in the way of too much exercise, work-related stress, just stress in general. Funnily enough, during periods of the year when histamine levels are high, or if you're someone who suffers from hay fever, you'll probably experience more weight fluctuations you would otherwise, because histamine causes inflammation. Inflammation is a stress. Stress increases water retention, and you now weigh more, but you're not fatter. So you need to remember that every time you jump on the scales. Just a quick note on stress as well. Dieting is a stress. So if I'm eating at a calorie deficit, let's say one that's too big, for an extended period of time, that in itself, that stress can bump up water retention. That water retention masks any fat loss that I'm experiencing. So I jump on the scales and go, these things are broken and they suck. And the diet sucks as well. But that stress can be masking your progress. You go out on the weekend, you go, diet's shit, I'm a piece of crap, I'm gonna go eat a bunch of burgers. You increase your calories and now you've taken that deficit away. You wake up the next day and you're lighter. Or the day after and you're lighter. And you go, what the hell happened? I ate burgers on the weekend. Burgers must be great for fat loss. I'm gonna do that every weekend. That's wrong, but what you actually just did is you've increased your calories. You've probably gone maintenance or thereabouts. Your body's gone, this is the best. I'm no longer in deficit. Stress drops, water retention or inflammation drops, and now we're seeing a real scale result. You haven't lost fat, you've just dropped water and you've reduced some stress for a little bit. I hope that makes sense. Make sure, lastly, digestion, really simple. If I'm eating food, if I drink this, a kilo of, what is that, half a gallon of water, let's say I drink a liter of water, I'm a kilo heavier on the scale. I haven't put on any fat though. Let's say I eat a big meal, I jump on the scales, I'm heavier. On top of that, let's say I'm having slower bowel movements than usual, the diet's not right, you're not eating enough fiber, and you're not going to the bathroom as often as you should be, you will then weigh more as well. So keep all that in mind. That's weight, and that's what you're seeing on the scales. But I'm just going to say, just a quick caveat here, you might hear trainers say things like the scales don't matter, or don't pay attention to the scales because they don't work. And I'm not telling you that, because they still do matter. If a trainer's telling you that and you have 10, 15 kilos of fat to lose, they're full of shit. Because you can't lose fat and gain muscle at the exact same rate. If I've got 10 kilos, let's say I've got 20 kilos of fat to lose, my goal is to lose 10. It probably is going to take me around 10 to 20 weeks to lose that 10 kilos of fat, but I'm sure as hell telling you I'm not gaining 10 kilos of muscle in that time. So if my weight's not changing over an extended period, something's wrong, right? You need to look into a little bit more. Could be one of these things, but it's probably deeper than that. So the scales do matter, but not in the short term. Fluctuations, throwing all of that, and don't attach yourself to those emotionally. Hope that makes sense. I like all these to have a little bit of a takeaway now, so I want to give you a better idea. So rather than ragging on the sales, how can you implement them into your assessment protocol or regime and make sure that you're staying on point? So here's how I like to assess clients and how we assess our clients at PPT. First and foremost, we love multiple assessment methods. Take a bunch of different ideas to formulate an assumption as to am I progressing or not. One measurement cannot give you the whole picture. So first and foremost, grab a lot of assessment methods. These are the ones we like. First and foremost, DEXA scan. Now, you're not going to get a DEXA scan every week. You might not even get it every 3 months. But biannually or yearly DEXA scans are a godsend when it comes to getting a clear indication of how your body composition is sitting, and it's going to be much better than jumping on the scales. You're going to get a real clear picture. They're basically going to give you an idea about how much muscle, how much bone, and how much fat you have, and how it's distributed across your body. Even DEXA has its flaws, but it's telling you a lot more than the scales. Other than that, on a frequent basis, because it's quick and easy, we love girth measurements. For males, I like the waist girth done regularly, and for females, I like the hips. Measure the parts of your body that's carrying the most fat, and if they go down, everything else is probably dropping as well. So with the men, that's waist. With the females, that's hips. Maybe thigh as well. And if you're a guy, you might choose to measure your arms, because we all like to do that, but that's not a bad one as well. Visual assessments. I'm going to put a question to you now. If you jump on the scales, your goal with fat loss or muscle gain should be a visual thing anyway, right? Like, you know how you want to look. You don't really care what the scale says, but in your head, that number's going to look a certain way. If you jump on the scales, but then you look in the mirror and you still hate what you see, why does that $20 piece of bathroom furniture even matter? You're looking to make that physical change. So what I like to do here is visual assessments. Monthly is really good if you want to see a physical change, that is. And that's where you would take a photo, in multiple positions, same place, same light, same device, same time of day. Get those measurements, because they're going to give you a clear indication of what you really want to see happen, and that's change your physique, change what you're seeing. They're really invaluable, and with smartphones and all that now, you've really got no excuse. Monthly is good with those. Training. Your training performance will have massive implications in telling you how your body composition is traveling, particularly in the higher rep ranges. Let's call it 8s to 12s and even up to 15s. If I'm training and I'm looking to lose weight, I'm in a calorie deficit and my weight, my physique is changing. But at the same time, my bench press in the 10 RM range has gone up 20 kilos. You can almost guarantee that you've maintained, if not increased, your muscle mass through the prime movers in your bench press. Same goes for any other big lifts, squat, bench, deadlift, overhead press. You want to see those go up in the higher rep ranges because they're going to be clear indications of the muscle mass that you have. At the same time, if I'm dropping body composition, might be weight on the scales, but my lifts are going down dramatically as well, chances are you're losing muscle mass and you need to quick smart change your approach. You want to get stronger, at least maintain to see, in those high rep ranges, to see a positive. But training, if you had to pick two, training and visual assessments, boom, done. Performance, what I actually want to see happen, and you're on the right track. And that's kind of what we want to see go on there. And then lastly, the scales. Now, I used to ask people to measure very frequently on the scales and then take an average, and you can still look to do that, 2 or 3 measurements a week, average it out and that's your measurement for the week. You could totally do that. But realistically, you could probably even push that to weekly, bi-weekly. Hell, you could even do it monthly, because across a month, even with fluctuations, and your weight might go like this, right? On the whole, it should be technically going down if your goal is fat loss and everything's on point. There still is potential for fluctuation. You know, for example, if female in the menstrual cycle, you're one of those high responders and you have a 4 kilo bump, you might be really deflated. But what I'm saying is that the scales are useful. You just need to be smart that it's whole body weight measurements. Lastly, if you're a person and you are emotionally attached to the scales, meaning you get on in the morning, you jump on, the result is bad and you go, the day is shit, the week is shit, I'm not training anymore and my life sucks. Look, if you have that much emotional attachment to what's going on with those couple of numbers on that bathroom furniture, you should probably do away with it and scrap that one from your assessment protocol, at least for the short term, until you improve your relationship. And you hope you understand the scales a little bit better. All done. Thanks very much, guys. Cheers.